Hello and welcome everyone, a new episode of Money Means Business. Well, in just a few hours from now, we are going to witness the inauguration of the Egyptian Economic Conference 2022. This conference is going to discuss a lot to set new economic policies for Egypt and to continue with discussing ways to eliminate all the obstacles in front of the investors, whether from inside or outside Egypt, how to enhance the participation and the role of our private sector, how to continue with our homework regarding our economy, despite the fact that the whole world is suffering from many global repercussions, not only of the COVID-19, but with the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. A lot to speak about and a lot of homework to do. A lot of efforts should be exerted for the sake not only of us, but for the coming generations. Well, this is going to be the lion's share of this episode, but right after the short break, we are going to turn back with my dear guest live here in the studio to speak and in detail. Stay tuned.
The Egyptian state was able to lay the foundations and pillars of the new republic after years of hard work to get the country out of successive crises that it witnessed before 2014 and almost swept it, had the state not confronted it with all will and defiance. As the state has moved forward towards launching infrastructure projects, social development and economic construction, it has also placed on top of its priorities building a comprehensive social protection network, improving the quality of services provided to citizens, and enhancing and developing the technological infrastructure towards building a digital Egypt. In this regard, the Media Center of the Council of Ministers published a report that monitored the most prominent indicators of the economy, pointing out that Egypt advanced 5 places in the Investment Attractiveness Index in Africa, which measures potential opportunities and risks for investors, as it ranked first in 2020 compared to 6th place in 2014. While it advanced 2 places in the FDI Africa Index, which measures global flows of foreign direct investment, where it came in 2nd place in 2021 compared to 4th place in 2014. The report pointed out that Egypt has maintained its strong position in the Reform Tracker Index since its release, scoring 6 out of 10 degrees according to Fitch Solutions. The index mainly evaluates economic reforms, including financial and monetary reforms, trade, and investment. In a related context, the report pointed to an improvement in Egypt's credit rating, which reflects the country's ability to meet its obligations when they are due. The report indicated that Fitch had affirmed Egypt's credit rating at B+, with a stable outlook in April 2022 compared to B with a stable outlook in December 2014, while the Moody's affirmed Egypt's credit rating at B2 with a negative outlook in May 2022 compared to CEA1 with a stable outlook in May 2022. Stable in October 2014, Standard & Poor's also rated Egypt at B with a stable outlook in April 2022 compared to B- with a stable outlook in November 2014. On the other hand, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi inaugurated the Black Sand Factory in the city of Borolus in Kafr el-Sheikh Governorate, which is the latest of its kind in the world and is a new addition to the series of major national projects aimed at maximizing the benefit and optimal exploitation of Egypt's natural resources. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi called on the private sector and local companies to contribute and invest in projects related to maximizing the added value of black sand in light of the large volume of reserves, as well as the growing global demand for these products that enter many industries.
قلت هل الاحتياطات اللي موجودة تكفي ان حضرتك تحط استثمارات لهذا الموضوع؟ طب حجم الطلب العالمي على المنتج اللي طالع موجود؟ يبقى فاضل ايه؟ فاضل ايه يا دكتور مصطفى؟ نعمل المشروع. ما قلتش الدولة بقى، ما قلتش ايه؟ ما قلتش الدولة، لا بقول تاني للقطاع الخاص، حتى للشركات اللي ابتدت تشتغل فيه.
On the other hand, Dr. Ali Idrisi, an economist, said that the black sand factory, which the president inaugurated in Kafr el-Sheikh Governorate, is an important industry, especially since Egypt has been suffering for decades in the optimal exploitation of natural resources, including mineral wealth, and an important part of it is black sand, which is included in most industries, including car tires, paper, leather, paints, granite, marble, and flyers. He stressed that reaching the $100 billion dream had become a requirement to provide raw materials and take advantage of the natural resources in Egypt, and this is what the sand factory achieves, in addition to its role in attracting foreign and local investments. On the other hand, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi called on the private sector to participate in the Black Sand project, and that is by forming compatible groups with investments ranging from 20 to 30 billion pounds, emphasizing the support of the private sector or participation with it until the implementation of more than one complex of black sand factories.
بقول للقطاع الخاص شكل مجموعات متوافقة مع بعضها، انتوا أصدقاء وتشتغلوا مع بعض. فكروا ان انتوا تقولوا طب هنعمل كيان نحط فيه مثلا 25 30 مليار جنيه بتدفقات ماليه. المشروع ده ممكن يخلص في سنتين، فانا بقول في سنتين. يبقى انا النهارده لو قلت في 20 25 30 مليار جنيه من القطاع الخاص شغال في الموضوع ده بتدفقات ماليه خلال سنتين، هيكون عندنا مصنعين 3 4 اكتر، وزي ما انتم شايفين الفرصه كده.
Dr. Mohammed Salim, a member of the House of Representatives, considered the inauguration of the Black Sand Factory a great achievement and a history for the Egyptian industry, stressing that the Egyptian industry file has gained great and unprecedented attention from President el-Sisi and the government, expecting that Egypt will witness a real industrial revolution in the next few years through the construction and establishment of many industrial projects in various fields. Salah al-Sukkari, an international expert in economic and social relations, said, "With the will and keenness of the political leadership to change and invest our wealth, this dream is realized, which leads to the creation of new investments that work on developing the Egyptian economy and promoting the transformation of the mining sector into a strong contributor to the national product." Khaled al-Shafi'i, an economic expert, also confirmed that what a ton of black sand produced pumps a return to the state with $60,000, pointing out that the investor receives support and encouragement from the political leadership to achieve preference for the Egyptian economy, stressing that over the previous decades, the Egyptian economy has not witnessed the support it is witnessing now. Midhat Youssef, former deputy head of the Petroleum Authority, said that the black sand industry is the nucleus of huge integrative industries that will be implemented during the coming period. He pointed out that Egypt is a pioneer in the field of mining industries, the most important which is gold extraction in cooperation with many local and international companies. In the end, President el-Sisi stressed the importance of the private sector's participation in this project, individually or through partnership with the state, in order to provide funding and shorten the time needed to implement this project, saying,
بقول الكلام ده دلوقتي ليه؟ عشان احنا ما عندناش وقت او فرصه نضيعها نقول ايه طب ماشي بقى ان شاء الله نبقى نفكر. لا، مفيش نفكر. فارجو ان احنا رسالتي تصل للقطاع الخاص. احنا مستعدين، خشوا لوحدكم، هنساعد معاكم. عايزين تخشوا بشراكه مفيش مشكله، بس عشان نقدر نعمل اكتر من مجمع من المجمعات اللي احنا بنتكلم فيها دي.
Welcome back, and let's start immediately. In fact, Mr. President said it all, but we are going to analyze what he said and to speak more about the messages he sent during this speech, among other speeches, particularly regarding reshaping our economy with greater participation or greater role from the private sector. Let me first welcome my dear guest live here in the studio, Ambassador Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister of Commerce. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you. Good evening to you and to the viewers.
Sir, we intended to speak about, as I said, reshaping our economy and speaking about the integration of the private sector and to ask the private sector to have a greater part or a greater role, or to be integrated more into other society. Simply this conference, which is going to kick off tomorrow inshallah under the auspices and inshallah with the presence of the president, this is going to be the platform, well, a great opportunity for hundreds of thinkers, of businessmen, of investors from inside and outside Egypt to speak about that and to tackle these issues. Now, before going into the details, how do you see the share of the private sector into the economy?
Before I speak about private sector, I'll speak something which is very important for private sector, whether in Egypt or overseas. When Standard & Poor's say that the Egyptian economy is stable, giving it the rating of BB, and it is stable, it is a message for the world and for the investors in Egypt, basically for the private sector, come invest, you are in safe hands, and the prospects are really promising as far as the big market which we have. When I speak about it, the country with 104 million consumers or buyers. This means that I have a big market, and so any investor who is thinking about Egypt, he has to begin with, has a sound, stable and big market, and also access to other markets through the Egyptian.
The gate to Africa.
It is a gate to Africa.
Number one, before speaking about the Middle East, before speaking about the other side of the Mediterranean, you name it.
This is one thing. The other thing is that when the president himself involves and gives directions to give all the facility, all the possible facilities, and before we say facilities, to listen to the investors, local and foreign investors. Listen to them. We will have the economic forum, economic conference within a few days, and
a few hours,
if you can say.
That's Sunday morning, inshallah.
Yes, tomorrow morning, inshallah, or Monday morning. This means that we mean business. That is to say, we listen to them, and all the ministers involved will be there, and all the organizations who are taking care of the infrastructure and the facilities and the industrialization and new projects and the new roads and new infrastructure which has been established will be involved in this process. This means that the president himself is spearheading an effort, an important effort at this time, or at this time of our economic development. When we see what is happening in Europe, whether the Ukrainian war or what happened in Britain just a couple of days ago, when we see what is happening in China and in the United States and the Western European countries, EU countries, and find that all these countries are facing big problems as far as their economy and activity is concerned. And all this, when we compare it to what is happening in Egypt, this means that we are working on a sound ground. And when Standard & Poor's say it is stable, this means that it is a message to the investors. You go to this place, you go to this market, and you are in safe hands. This is a very important message, especially at this time, just 24 hours or 48 hours before the economic conference which you will have.
Yeah.
This is one thing. Third thing is that private sector is very important for any economic development.
Sure.
Because we need it, and also it needs to work.
A win-win situation.
It is a win-win situation for both parties are in this case making advantage. It is mutually beneficial for both parties.
All what you're saying, sir, it's really great. And as you've kindly mentioned, representatives from the government are going to be there. But in addition to about 500 participants from local and international organizations, whether they are think tanks, experts, economic analysts, stock market experts. Now I really want to listen to people who are thinking out of the box. not in the traditional way of, oh, you have had your visibility study, now you can have your license in just few days, and
Yes.
this is great. But the ideas, fighting corruption, fighting bureaucracy, thinking in different dimensions. How do you see this as we are speaking about New Egypt, the new republic, Egypt 2030?
The new republic, yes, that is a very good beginning. When the president himself is presiding this conference, this means that all the ministers and all the other organizations will be there and will listen to directions and they will do it, which is very important. This is one thing. Other thing is that, which is very important, we need to know or listen to the investors and would-be investors. They have their complaints, they have their observations, they have their suggestions, they are thinking also outside the box, as you rightly mentioned now. This means that we are on the right course of encouraging the investment in Egypt to come and work starting from today. Very important thing is that we need to know what they want. When we need to know exactly what is needed by each and every individual investor, this means that we have to cope with it and say it in public. We have done this and this and this to make life easier for the investors, whether present or would-be investors. When I say investors, I mean the Egyptian investors first of all, because this is the ground. The Arab investors and the international investors. When I see that Standard & Poor or Fletcher or whatever are saying that Egyptian economy is stable, this means that it is a green light for the would-be investors.
But the report was released just a few hours
Yes.
from now. But sir, let me put my question in other words.
Yes,
because
please.
I really want to speak more about the entrepreneurs, the startups, those who are really the target of the president's messages, because of course we do respect and admire, and we are really proud of all the mega projects we have.
Yes.
But in addition to the mega projects, there is no economy which can be developed without the SMEs, without the micro, macro projects, without very small companies of 2 or even 3, and they can continue on the right path to help, and they are going to be bigger and bigger after that. How do you see this comparison, and how do you see this idea? Have we reached the layman in the street, and now all Egyptians know that they can build their future with their own hands?
It is very important to encourage small scale industries, which is very important, and medium scale. But let me focus on the small scale industries. When the private sector is given its right share and level playing field with the other big organizations, this means that they will come and they will work and they can activate the economy, and we can pass through this time, difficult times internationally, not only locally. And this means that we are on the right course of encouraging the private sector, the small scale industries, private, whether small companies or so, and listening to what problems have they faced, and what solutions are we giving them. Because when we say we will do this and that, it should be facts. Second, we should see the feedback in the conference itself.
Yes.
When we listen to them in the conference and see what they want, not only the complaints, but what they want, what their aspirations and objectives, and how big are the investments we are going to expect within the next couple of years, this means that we are giving them an opportunity to work in this big market and also to activate the economy. And also it is a call for other investors to come in new sectors. A lot of sectors we have a lot, not only tourism or western desert or infrastructure, industry, land reclamation. All these are sectors which needs to be updated, up-leveled. This is what we need to add. At the same time, they need to know what projects are there to be financed. When I say project, is not the headlines, but headlines with details of location, the cost, manpower, the legislation which will govern them, and also to listen to their complaints. Some of them have been in Egypt and they are working, or some left. We should look to those who have left and try to bring them back, because they have suffered, and we are able now, with the president himself is taking care to bring them back and pave the way for a better and balanced
simply the
economic
participants there,
Yeah.
everyone representing whether a public or a private entity, he or she, of course, is
Yes.
going to come with his homework. I mean, with the agenda, with the list of requirements, demands, complaints, as you've kindly mentioned, visibility studies, ideas, new projects, everything. And the exchange of data, I think it's going to be a brainstorming situation, which is going to result in positive or fruitful results, inshallah.
Yes, please.
Sure.
Let me add some important dimension. When we see that Europe is facing problems,
This was what I wanted to speak about, is that the whole world is suffering from many global crises. I mean, we have not taken our deep breath after the COVID-19 issue and its repercussions, and the lockdowns, and the soaring prices of oil, for example, the results of the OPEC Plus meetings. Starting from the 24th of February 2022, we already witnessed the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, and unfortunately it resulted with food insecurity, with soaring energy prices, with political turmoil in many places. I mean, it's in Romania, in France, Liz Truss was forced to resign.
Britain, yeah.
You name it. If we are going to have this kind of comparison between what's going on in the northern side of the Mediterranean
Yes.
and the southern side of the Mediterranean,
I
what's your evaluation?
I am in the southern side. I have a very big opportunity to attract the industries who are facing problems of supply of energy. It is a big chance for Egypt, because we have the petrol and we have the gas, and we export it. So it is the best time to encourage them to come and localize their industries, especially the power or energy intensive industries. They can come, and this part of their industry, which is power intensive, can come and establish a presence in Egypt. This means that capital transfer, and more importantly, technology transfer, beside, of course, manpower and the wire I'm selling them, and the lower taxes for them, or sometimes you give free exemption from taxes for some years. There is a lot to which we, at this time of the year, or at this time, let us say, we are entering the winter. The winter will be particularly cold for Europe this time, because they are facing problems in the power supply from Russia and so on. And so it is time for us to open the doors and the gates for them. Please come, we will do this and
Enjoy
this and
our
this for you.
sunshine.
It is opportune time for...
And it's our peak, it's our season, it's high season in tourism.
It is a high season.
But
sorry.
it's not only about tourism, it's about inviting others. They may start their work here. And
It
as
should
we
work.
said, it's we can be your gate to Africa, we can be your gate even to Asia. We do have the industrial zones in the new Suez Canal and the Suez Canal zone, you name it. But sir, the timing of this conference,
Yes.
just 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks or maybe less, before the COP27. As if we are saying to the whole world, it's only a rehearsal. You are going to witness a lot, very much well organized, with hundreds of people, experts, and we are going to have positive results, inshallah, for the best interest of all. It's going to be a win-win situation for all. How do you see this as another message?
The linkage between the economic conference and the COP27 is very important, because I am paving the way for COP23 to be a successful and phenomenal at this time of the year. We have seen that the COP26, and we are expecting in 27, a lot of international heads of states are coming, and we are paving the way, especially for the economic part of it. Economic part is very important for Egypt, and the way is paved now when the president himself and all the economic ministers are there to listen and do their homework, which is very important. You mentioned the homework of the investors, but there is another homework, yes, which is equally important.
Homework from the state and public and private sector. But sir, you were speaking about the taxes issue.
Yes.
As part of the incentives.
Yes.
Let's listen to this. Egypt's cabinet proposes legislation granting new investment incentives for industrial projects. The Egyptian government has agreed to send a draft bill to the parliament that grants new investment incentives for certain industrial projects in designated zones for a period of time up to 10 years. The incentives include exemptions of up to 55% on income tax for projects in certain industries and areas determined by the Egyptian cabinet. This is a statement which was released less than 2 days ago, and this is to echo what you've just mentioned.
The best statement, which is, it is for all the world, come and we are doing our homework, and you'll see we will have exemptions for 10 years. Is something which did not happen before, and no country does that. When you are encouraging them to come with their money, with technology transfer and with capital, and this means that we are on the right course and we are encouraging them at the right timing, which is very important. Whether for them, we see
because
what
of this,
happened.
sir, I'm telling you that the cabinet is going to participate in this conference with homework done. I mean, the step is part of the amendments of the country's investment law 72 on 2017 for the year 2017 to promote industrial investments at a time that one of the most important sessions or activities of the conference is going to be setting economic policies. How do you see this integration?
This integration is very important because it gives a roadmap, whether for the local industry or the foreign investors. We mean business, and it is clear that the government is keen to encourage you to come today with...
Do you know Premier Mustafa Madbouli in person? Do you know him in person?
No, I don't.
Exactly what he said earlier this month. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli said the economic conference seeks to reach a roadmap for the country's economy during the coming period.
So the same I don't know him in person, but we are thinking in the same positive way. The prospects for the Egyptian economy are great. And we have the infrastructure now. During the last 6 or 7 years, we had established a first-class infrastructure in every respect, whether for energy or for roads. And this is like the veins of the economy.
Build it and they'll come.
Yes, and it is built now.
Yep.
Yes, and on a high standard. I have used it going to Marsa Matruh or to Hurghada or to the south. I have seen the new roads. This means that the problem of the roads in Egypt is now completely solved and at the highest standard possible. This is very important for any industry. This is one thing. Other thing is that we need also the manpower in Egypt to be well trained to receive the sophisticated industries which you are encouraging. So a lot of work should be also done by the concerned ministries in Egypt to get ready for retraining of the manpower which we have, so that they can cope with the needs.
Vocational
training.
Education first,
yes,
and then vocational training, you know. And in each meeting of the president with Prime Minister Dr. Madbouli and concerned ministers, of course, he is all the time giving his directives and instructions to qualify the human being, to qualify the judge, to have this qualified cadre to be able to run these institutions, or who is going to do so? First, build the character, qualify the cadre, and then with the facilities, everything is going to be okay. Sir, we are going to return back to this, but I also cannot skip mentioning Haya Karima or Decent Life Initiative. Because many people would think that, oh, we are very much concerned with business, with investment, with the private sector, with the public sector, and we are going to forget a little bit at least about the low income brackets, or those who are suffering, and we should say that, but we are all the time giving them the chance to continue in a better way with initiatives like Haya Karima or Kulluna Wahed, or you name it. Even tomorrow, inshallah, a very nice young lady, Fatma Zahra, is a student, and she is studying in Faculty of Languages. She is one of our heroes of people with determination. She drew a picture for the president to congratulate him on Haya Karima. 3 years Haya Karima, it entered the 4th year. She received an invitation, and she is going to be meeting President Sisi tomorrow in the economic conference. How do you see these examples or role models or gestures? Because this is very important to say that if we are on this track, we are not going to forget about other tracks.
The new generation has a role to play. And when the president himself is welcoming a girl who has thought outside the box, this means that he is encouraging all the new generation, boys and girls of course, to step forward, do your homework, and think loud and clear, so that we can develop together. When the encouragement comes from the president himself, this means that he is giving good example for the other officials and also for the new generation, that you have a role to play in economic development of the country. You have a role to play, and you will be rewarded. You will be personally rewarded for any such new way of thinking, or thinking outside the box. It is very important that we encourage the new generation, especially the women. Why I say the women? Because at some stage they were not given the right share in the business community. But now we see many business women are coming, and we see that a lot of them are succeeding, whether locally or regionally or international. This means that we have inherent capacities which were not completely used. Now we are giving them the space. Go ahead, and the president himself will welcome one of you, and the others should step forward and let us see what you can do. And there is a lot of bright ideas which are not just ideas, but they are pragmatic and practical and can be easily implemented with the help of the private sector or the individuals, and of course under the umbrella of the government, because the government has every interest in encouraging the private sector to step forward and contribute positively in the economic development and have your role in the new investments.
I want to add to this, to this phrase, economic development, with this magic word, sustainable economic development. You know, when you find the word sustainability, it's there whenever you speak about anything related to New Egypt, to Egypt 2030. Because, as I said in my intro, we are not working only for today or for tomorrow, but we are working for years and years to come, and for the coming generations, not even the coming generation, not generations. How do you see this aspect, sir? Because before, we were all the time speaking about the 5-year plan, or الخطة الخمسية. Now, we are speaking about the 50-year plan, الخطة الخمسينية, if we may say so. How do you see this move? Is it such a gap, or this is something which we should have started years ago, but better late than never?
A couple of years ago, we had 2030 goals, a plan for 2030. This means that the government, or the president, rather the president, is thinking ahead and paving the way for the others to step forward and think about the next 50 years or this not just one generation, but more than one generation. The base is there. The road was paved for any economic development in the near future and in the medium range future. Very important thing is what you have to take care of is that the private sector has a role to play, and now we need it to show its strength and its capacities and its new ideas and new ways of thinking, because the government sometimes needs to cope with the needs of the private sector, need to imitate, if I can say, cope with what they are doing, because the private sector, it is a creative sector, and we need to encourage it to have more space in the economic field. When I say economic field, we have from Alexandria to Aswan a lot of investment projects. We have seen about 4,000 new projects are beginning to in 16 settlements. When you see that 16 settlements and the government is taking care of each of it, the total number of projects is 4,200 or something like that. This means that the government is a business government. It is a business government. This
Business and marketing.
And yes,
Because
yes,
sometimes maybe business is okay, but with low profile marketing or poor performance of marketing, the result is a big zero.
let me speak from I am a marketing man.
Great.
Before we establish a project, the marketing begins. What does the consumer need? According to what the consumer needs, we establish our projects, and specifications are settled by the consumer, not by the producer. The consumer or the buyer, if we can say, settles and give us the lead what he needs, so we establish the presence or we establish a project according to what the market needs. This is very important. Marketing comes before production.
Sir, I have only 2 minutes, and unfortunately,
Oh, wow.
I do have a lot to speak about. But, sir, let's finally speak about what happened exactly in November 2016. Because every time I do remember the very first steps of our economic reform, oh, are we going to be able to cross this gap, to solve this crisis, to live through that? And it's 2022, and after all these crises which are scattered all over the world and all the burdens, we are still on. If we have not taken this decision by then, how would it be now?
Alhamdulillah, thanks to God, we have passed through the difficult times successfully and with our heads in the sky and looking forward to tomorrow, a better tomorrow. The government has played a very important role in paving the way for the private sector, and the president is encouraging investors to come to Egypt. When we see that economic forum, which you will see, or economic conference, which you will see after one day, this means that you are welcome, please come, and we'll do what you need so that we develop Egyptian economy, especially at this time when all the world is seeing stagnation and recession but Egypt, the growth rate in Egypt is phenomenal. Thanks to the government and to President for doing this, and it is a promising near future and also far future, especially for the new generations and new business persons and the private sector in Egypt.
Sir, what's really great is that you're all the time optimistic, but I'd like to end with a percentage.
The growth rate.
No, percentage. You are optimistic. How much percent?
100%.
I cannot find a better end to this episode better than that. Well, 100% optimistic about the future, the near and far future. I enjoyed my time.
Me
Sir,
too.
thank you very much for your input. We were very much delighted to have with us live here in the studio my dear guest, Ambassador Ayoub Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Nermeen.
Well, we are going to live the few coming minutes with my dear colleague and friend Manel Ibieri to speak more in detail about the most important events, economic events to be accurate, which took place during the past 7 days. By this, we come to the end of this episode. Stay tuned only on Nile TV International. Always for more. With all my love, this was Nermeen Abdurrahman.